Hello and welcome to this week's one take, unrehearsed, unedited Frank Talk discussion with a business leader regarding how he's dealing with the most pressing issues of the day. These interviews are brought to you by the executive consulting firm Platinum Group. Today I'm talking with Chuck Tryon, president of Owatonna-based Bushel Boy, which has operations in that city and also Mason City, Iowa. Chuck, welcome to One Take.
Thanks, Dale. Good to be with you.
So you have a very impressive history. I mean, you've worked for food giants like Pillsbury and General Mills. You worked at Ecolab or helped them for a while. What prompted you to come to Bushel Boy?
A few things. One, so I've got a passion for food and spent a lot of my years in the food industry working around specialty vegetable crops, specifically with the Green Giant brand. And then I've had an affinity toward smaller, more entrepreneurial companies of late, and Bushel Boy is a perfect combination of that. A great entrepreneurial spirit in the company, a good size, and in an industry, specifically indoor farming, that's really on fire right now. So a really good combination of all my experiences and the things I'm passionate about.
Yeah, I remember when Bushel Boy first kind of came on the scene. And I was like, wow, Minnesota grown tomatoes I could get in January. And they were on the vine. And it seemed really cool at the time. Has it gotten a lot more competitive since then?
It has. There's been a lot of additional greenhouses being built in, really around the world, but specifically in North America. So there are more, larger scale, really high tech greenhouses that are being built, and our job is to keep up with that. And that's part of the reason why we expanded to Mason City this past year.
Yeah, I know that was a $35 million plant that you put in down there, but you also did the research facility in Owatonna, and that seems like a really smart move to try to keep up. How important is it to figure out the right kinds of fertilizer, to continue to work with lighting, all those things to increase yield?
Yeah, it's really important, not only yield, but just additional attributes, better quality, better nutrition, new crops. We, for the longest time, the better part of our 30 years, we've grown tomatoes and grown them really well. Now for the last, year to 2 years, we've also been able to try something else. We're trialing strawberries right now. It's going really well, and we're utilizing that R&D greenhouse to do that. So we're looking at new varieties, new products, and then new technologies, as you mentioned. Those could be plant nutrition technologies, but also things that affect the climate, the lighting, et cetera.
Yeah, and that kind of brings up the question, how are you going to grow this company? You have the value differentiator of being vine-ripened, but others are starting to kind of creep into that space. And you have a good territorial hold here with Minnesota, Iowa, a little bit of Wisconsin, going south a ways with distribution. But how do you plan to grow this company 5 years out, 10 years out from now? Are you going to be buying other tomato companies or setting up other locations?
Yeah, so without giving all the strategic moves away, we're to your point, we've got a really good base of business in the upper Midwest. It starts with a sort of the bullseye in the Twin Cities and expands from there. So we're gonna expand that geographic reach. That's part of our decision to move a little bit south is to be able to reach down as far as St. Louis and Kansas City and over to Omaha, but still do that and remain relevant as a local brand. And Iowa grown is relevant in those markets. We can reach as far east as Chicago and still play as a local brand. And then from there, the decision becomes: do we keep expanding geographically, or do we do more things in our core market? And right now we've got a lot of opportunity, as I mentioned, outside of tomatoes. So if we can, the more products that make sense for us to grow in our greenhouses and supply our retail partners and our food service partners in our core market, that's where the growth starts. It won't end there, but that certainly will keep us busy for quite some time.
Well, I'm looking forward to more strawberries coming from you. That'll be really helpful. But now you have about 150 employees today, correct?
That's correct. Yeah, we have about 100 in Minnesota in Owatonna, and then about 50 now in our new Mason City, Iowa facility.
Okay. With R&D, are you going to need to bring in more R&D types of employees, or are you pretty well set with that for now?
It'll be a growth area for us. So we've got a small R&D team in place right now. We're going to utilize partnerships as well. So as we work with technology companies and other firms, so we'll share some expertise and resources with some of those strategic partners also.
Sure. Chuck, I know you were a little challenged last year. The company was. You joined in October, but by the time you joined, COVID had been delaying things a bit with regards to that facility expansion. Tell us a little bit about what happened there.
Yeah, so as COVID hit, the Mason City project had been underway, and then we put just a slight pause to determine, do we continue with it in an uncertain environment? The decision was made to continue that, and then we just had the logistical challenge of a lot of the expertise, a lot of the equipment and technology for greenhouses comes from Europe, specifically the Netherlands. So we needed to make sure that borders were open and transportation was available for to move goods and people and talent to complete that. And ultimately we did. It was a little, there were certainly some delays because of that, but it's completed. We put our first tomato plants into that facility in December, and I can happily say I was just there yesterday, and we're harvesting away. The product looks great.
I keep getting hungry when I talk with you about tomatoes and everything else. They're great tomatoes. Speaking of the border situation with getting things in and COVID, a lot of your employees are immigrants or non-English speaking too. How has that been a challenge when it comes to COVID and educating them and also helping them realize they need to get their shots?
Yeah, so it's there's really two challenges there. Yeah, and really, and it certainly is part of a challenge with our workforce, but the broader population as well. So that first challenge is, how do we keep everybody healthy? And we quickly put some good procedures in place to make sure the obvious things of mask wearing, glove wearing, social distancing. In a big greenhouse, we can keep people separated. The work allows for separation, so that helps us. But people still, will tend to carpool. We've got people that are working for us that come from the same town, same areas. So you have carpools and things that make it more challenging. So we do everything we can to keep them safe on site and encourage good behavior and practices off site. And we've been, knock on wood, we've been really successful with that. So keeping everybody healthy is where it starts. And now as we're into more availability of the vaccine, encouraging everybody to first of all understand how to get it, and it is complicated, for all of us to understand where we can get it, how to get signed up, when we're due for that. So we're working to make sure that within our communities we let people know when and where they can sign up. We're giving them assistance to do that. If they need a computer to get logged in, we'll allow, we'll do that and help them that way. We allow them to take time off, paid time off to get the vaccine. And then we're just providing education, and that's our role, is really to help them know how to get signed up, where to get signed up, and then information about the vaccine as they need it. So that education will go on for months now, and our hope is the majority of our team will get the vaccine.
Yep. How are things going when it comes to talent attraction and retention? Do you have any challenges on that front?
Yeah, it's our biggest challenge, quite honestly, Dale. Our area, particularly in Owatonna, has done a wonderful job of attracting new businesses, particularly industrial businesses. So there is a high demand for jobs in this market. So it is a challenge. I just actually met earlier today with the mayor of Owatonna and the Chamber of Commerce, just about ideas that for us for us to get better access to a greater pool of candidates. So we're working every day on that. There's a lot more work to go into it and as I said, it's a good situation for the region, is that there is a high demand for jobs. We're competing for talent in this region, and that's good for the region long term.
So what have you found one thing so far that may work or is working to help you do better at attracting talent?
We've not found the one silver bullet, and if you if you or any of your future guests find it, please let me know. We're word of mouth still for us is the best thing we can do. So that's really what we make sure is that our current employees who know what the work is, who know what we're like as an employer, we encourage them and quite honestly we incentivize them to to reach out to their network and bring the people that they know from their community in to have us interview and hopefully select them to add to the team.
How is the culture at Bushel Boy? And it kind of leads to the question, why would they want to work for Bushel Boy versus somebody else?
Yeah, so the culture I'll actually say is evolving, and it's evolving. It's part of the reason why I joined 6 months ago was to help bring this into really back to being a family-run company. That spirit, that entrepreneurial spirit, and so that's what we're working on. The work, this is agricultural work. It's hard work, but it happens to be in an environment that's where you're surrounded by living plants, beautiful fruit, bumblebees flying around that are pollinating the plants. So there's some beauty that surrounds that really hard work, and that's part of what we try to make sure people see and they experience that as they consider us for employment.
So talent, is that your greatest challenge then for 2021? Is talent and culture?
Talent, culture, and then a competitive marketplace. But we need that talent and culture in place to be able to compete. That's so we start each day with that in our minds.
Yeah. Well, Chuck, is there anything else that I should have asked you today that I didn't have a chance to ask you?
You mentioned that I was making you hungry each time we talk. So you didn't ask me what my favorite Bushel Boy product was.
Okay, I bet it's the I was gonna say grape tomatoes.
It's close. So my current favorite, we have a tomato. It's called a cocktail tomato. So it's about twice the size of a cherry tomato. So it's still a small tomato, but and it's sold on the vine. So it's a beautiful presentation in the produce department. So I enjoy taking that, slicing it in half with some burrata cheese, some grilled bread, and drizzled with olive oil and balsamic vinegar. And it's the appetizer, the meal, and the dessert in one dish.
Well, I'm going to Kowalski's to get some of that tonight. That sounds really good.
We appreciate that.
Yeah, you just made me hungry again. Well, thank you, Chuck, for joining us today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Dale. Thanks to you and the Platinum Group.
Thanks. I also want to thank our sponsor, Platinum Group, which for 40 years has helped companies during turbulent times. If your company needs help or would appreciate a second opinion, give them a call at 952-829-5700. You can also learn more about Platinum Group at theplatinumgrp.com. And I also want to thank all of you today for joining us. We'll see you next time on One Take.